From the great halls of their house, there assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. And our B-Man, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicky.
I'm Jennifer.
That's it. That's all. That's all we got. But we do have a guest. He has been a requested guest. People have been asking, hey, when are you going to have him on? And we said, I don't know if we can get him on. And then little did we know, all we had to do was ask him. And he said yes, which means he's been racing for a long time and he makes very bad decisions. But welcome to the podcast, Johan Samanta.
Thank you. Yes, I am shockingly, I was, my schedule was wide open. Probably embarrassing. So when you call, the fact that anybody is requesting me, that's, boy, those people need to get a life.
It makes you feel good inside and also makes you question society. But hey, we'll take it. That's a good thing. So just in case people aren't familiar with you, Johan, I don't know why that would be the case, but just in case, would you care to introduce yourself? Could be family, professional, racing.
So
whatever.
Yeah, so I'm my straight world life is I'm a 51-year-old neurologist. I'm married to the most patient woman on earth, Kristen. Who is
Vicky? What are you doing?
Yeah, what? Well, I guess
Vicky.
There could be a tie.
Okay, tie.
Yeah,
I'll take the tie.
So
I need all the brownie points I can
yes,
get.
my wife Kristen, who's she's a family physician, and we have two boys that are they're 19 and 22 now, which really makes me feel old. We have a dog. The boys' names are Andrew and Nicholas. The dog's name is Lily, and I have been a crap can racing addict for over 10 years now. I guess I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's why I'm sitting out on my back patio tonight and doing this instead of in front of a fireplace.
Oh yeah, what's the weather out there now?
It's it's a little nippy. We're down into the 50s at the moment. Might get into the 40s at night, and then might touch 70s during the day.
But it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
Love Arizona. I have to say, it is one of my favorite states. It really is. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we've been here for 25 years now, and it's really grown on us. You can, if you like being outdoors, you like hiking, it's great. In the winter, we're 2 hours away from skiing, and we don't get a lot of green. Like, I am shocked every time I touch down somewhere, on the eastern seaboard, and we break the clouds and all I see is green, but short of that,
it's beautiful in its own way.
Yes. It definitely, and there's, at least down here, there is nothing to shovel. So.
Well, there you go.
You haven't listened to our podcast very often then, because there's always something to shovel on here. So.
Well, yeah.
So, how did you get into racing?
It's sort of a short story and a long story. I mean, the long part of it is ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a race car driver. My cousins back. So I'm going to skip ahead. Something you don't know, most people don't know about me, is I'm actually Swedish. So I was born in Stockholm, Sweden. And then raised there maybe until I was 4 or 5. We moved to the States, but I spent every summer pretty much into early high school in Sweden. And my cousins were all about 10, 15 years older than me. And they were always working on cars, and they were building like, Volvo Amazons and, for rally racing and for rallycross and basically, the equivalent of lemons racing in Sweden, this thing called folk race. And so I was always fascinated by what they were working on and driving in the summers. And then as it happens, my dad, when we moved to the US, it was to work for Ford. So he worked over at the Ford research headquarters, developing, better, door panels and things like that, for 20 something years in Dearborn, Michigan, which is where I grew up the rest of the time. So it was cars one way or another.
Dearborn is not Phoenix.
No. Yeah. So we lived in just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. So, that was
Green.
Yes, it was very green until it was white. And then it was really white for about 5 months. So,
yep. But that 1 week of summer was awesome.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, yeah. There's a week in May, and then there's this week in June or so when they have the art fair, or July, right around there, and then that's everything else is gray, mosquitoes, and then bitter cold. But it's great hooning weather, so there's that.
That's true.
So what kind of cars do you race?
So the old girl in the stable is a 1973 Volkswagen Super Beetle. That is the car we originally bought in 2000, like maybe the tail end of 2009, and started to convert into a race car because we'd seen a couple of articles on the 24 Hours of Lemons, and we thought, hey, those idiots can do that. Why can't
How hard can it be, right?
And so we picked something so we were more worried about being accepted at the time. So we picked something that was just clearly not a racy race car, but it's also easy to work on. So we figured it would be a good car to learn on, and somehow it's still going. So there's that one. About 5 years ago, when they started doing races in Tucson or outside of Tucson for lemons, some friends here in Phoenix and I kind of maybe bullied them into putting up or shutting up, and we bought a 1982 Toyota Corolla station wagon, and that is our Drifto wagon. So it was originally a 3TC, it's half a Hemi engine in there, and they are supposedly undestroyable. We managed to destroy 2, and then now it has a super cheaty late 90s, early 2000s Lexus Beams 4-cylinder engine in it. So it's so that's kind of our 2 steady ones. And then I've got a friend who has helped us race and build the Beetle at various points, who has built a 1980, I think it's an E21 is that era. So a 3 Series Bimmer that he was gonna debut at Road Atlanta had it not been COVIDed. So
Yeah. So when you're on the race team, what position or area of interest are you involved in?
Let me see. So in my notes, I wrote public face.
So you're the Jeff Wakeman in training?
Yes, exactly. Now, it just depends on the team. So on our Beetle team, I am, I am like the fourth best mechanic. So by the time it rolls around to me, I mean, I'm like the OR tech. I'm just handing tools to whoever looks like they need one. And, but otherwise, I mean, I try and pull my weight mechanically. And I try to sort of split duties between that and herding cats and trying to keep people, roughly, if not on the same page, at least on the same book, which would be harder.
There's a value in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We refer to that position as the sous chef for the for the people.
I like that.
Sous chef.
That sounds classier, actually.
It's better than lead gopher, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So since 2020 was kind of a bust, what kind of race season are you hoping for, or looking forward to for 2021?
So I had like a pretty good rhythm of doing about 5 or 6 races a year between the two coasts, and then sometimes getting, hint out there, sometimes getting invited to be a guest driver, and for various teams. And so, but right now, if I'm super optimistic, Barber in February, but we'll see what the world has in store for us there. And then there's the Lemons Sebring race in May. There's the High Plains race outside of Denver in June. Button Willow for that's September, and then Road Atlanta. And then, like I said, hopefully I'll get a chance to catch on with somebody for another race or so if the world is cooperative. And that's, we'll see. I'm hoping at least like 4 out of those 5 come off.
We raced most closely with you when we were out at the Lucky Dog race. What did you think of Lucky Dog? Was that your first one?
That was my first Lucky Dog race. And I've raced some Chump. I've done some HSR racing, and a couple of other things over the years. But I thought that was, probably one of the. Actually, I really like the format. So there are multiple races over the course of the weekend. So, you kind of, if you had mechanical problems one day, you had a kind of a fresh slate, another day. And that's kind of a nice, thing, at least on Friday versus Saturday, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, we made sure we took care of everything at once.
Yes,
yeah.
There were some things that weren't overnight fixes, unfortunately.
It did not buff out.
No. I've been there, brother. I know I've been there, man. I get you. So, but yeah, it's they're super positive. They're real friendly. I think I'm blanking. So bad. I'm blanking on
Kathy.
Yes, Kathy is really responsive, I think, to what the drivers, their needs, and just kind of making sure that people are having a good time but being safe. And I like her. Yeah, I would definitely do one again. And she gets some pretty cool tracks. So
she does.
Yeah,
Kathy's awesome. Mm-hmm. So, Johan, do you have a racing philosophy?
Boy, yeah, get good. Maybe one, that would be, it's changed so much. I'm sure you guys have gone through this. Like, I think when I started out, I probably was more aggressive and in certain situations faster, but the consequences were much worse. When I realized I wasn't as talented as I thought I was. I think now I've really tried to work on being the same driver every lap, which I think is maybe is probably the key. The fastest same driver every lap, I guess, is what you want to say, is really the and that's kind of the key to endurance racing.
Sure.
You're not good if if your variance is like 6 seconds a lap, from one to another. You need to kind of be at or near your fastest lap every time, and to be able to kind of do it comfortably. You drive with somebody like Roland or like Randy Pops and those guys, they're putting down laps, multiple seconds faster than you, and they're doing it every single time, and they're doing it with one gear, and it's like, so every time you kind of think you're making progress, you're reminded that there's so many more levels, and so it's just always learning, and maybe that's really it.
So we're really committed to getting people interested, in starting racing. And do you have any thoughts for newbies you could share just to kind of get them off the sofa?
I mean, I think this is really probably bad time since maybe the 50s to get into racing. I mean, you've got between Lemons, between Lucky Dog, between Chump Car, there's so many like grassroots, racing series out there that really don't require, a ton of experience. They don't require any experience theoretically, or a perfect car or those things. I think there are grades within those, but I think for me, the reason it took me, until I was 40 to get into racing was every time I start to look at like the SCCA, rule book, I'd get a migraine, and you'd see all the things you'd have to do to even be allowed on, into a track with wheel-to-wheel racing. It was just sort of, it was very defeating. And I think, I think these series have proven that, you really can still be safe without putting people through like just endless kind of minutia. And I would, there are plenty of, squinty-eyed old SCCA guys out there, and I don't think they're necessarily, any better or faster than some of the guys that have never done anything other than Lemons. And oftentimes, there's some pretty terrible race drivers that are squinty old SCCA guys. And so I question the model, I guess, the old model. And I really, really would say this is probably the most welcoming era, that has been, in modern, grassroots racing. So there's really no reason not to do it.
And the intimidation factors should be pretty low, and the threshold's probably, like you said, never been lower to get in. So
yeah,
give it a try. Just
it's there is all you got to do is cage it and race that mofo.
Yeah, come on over and say hi. We'll keep track of you.
You know what? And that's the other thing is I think the community, across the board, certainly, at the early chump races that we used to do, Lemons, of course, and absolutely, at Lucky Dog, my experiences, it is such a welcoming community, and everybody is willing to be helpful. Nobody is there to, screw you over, or no one,
Nope.
There's nobody getting any satisfaction out of your failure. Everybody, the more people that have a good time, the bigger the sport grows. So,
yeah.
And I think people really get that here.
You'll probably be surprised at how many people come over and say hi as a result of this podcast. It just coincidentally that all of them have the last name of Fisher and Scripchuk, but you'd be surprised how many there are. So Johan, we're talking to you about, what would you like to talk about? And you came up with the thing we love the best, which is, we either want to help people get into the race, or we want to help people enjoy the race, or maybe even do better at the racing. And you said, hey, I've been doing this a while. Why don't we have kind of a lessons learned over the years of you doing this? And I was like, A, I don't have to come up with questions because you already gave me answers. So this is awesome. And B, that sounded like a great idea. So
absolutely.
So we thank you for that.
Oh, sure. Learn from all of our mistakes. Honestly, right? It's
way cheaper.
Absolutely. There should be at least half as much heartache and crying.
Exactly. So for those mathematical people at home, when we're racing, there's typically, let's say 100 cars on the track, maybe 150, maybe less. Doesn't matter. How many people tend to win each race? Just math wise.
I think it's still one.
It's still one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And even if they're separate divisions, there's still only one. So
yeah.
So obviously you can't have any fun racing unless you're finishing first, right? That's what Ricky Bobby said.
But then again, the lesson from that movie was, at the end, his dad said, "What? That's ridiculous. You could be second. You could be third. You could be, the first time we took a checkered flag, I literally cried. It was such a good feeling. And that's the reality of, I think we all have a movie ideal of what racing is. Everybody who has ever gotten into racing, I don't care how, level-headed you are, when you're building that first car and you're heading to your first race, you're like, I think we could win, man. But the reality is, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Now it's also going wrong with everybody around you. And it's the guys, it's the teams that, have done the best job of troubleshooting their car beforehand, that know what their car can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do. And the guys that listen to their car when they're out there, that tend to do the best and have the most consistent results. It's not the car with the biggest engine. It's not the car that has the fastest top speed down the straight. It's the cars that go out there and just kind of, make donuts. They're just out there making one after another. They're not the slowest cars out there usually, but they're maybe the 10th fastest car when you look at their fast laps. And it's the hardest thing, I think, to learn is just to, is the least important thing almost, for your car is that those few hours you have it on track. Where you need to put your most frenetic and intense energy is everything, are all your suspension bolts tight as they're supposed to be? Is anything wiggly? Are your ground wires down? Is everything properly grounded and wired in? It's.
Did you have a BMW at Charlotte?
I did see the what is the race bar BMW?
It's got some wires.
Yeah, it's got a few. It has a few.
They're aerodynamically arranged.
Is that it? Yes. They are impressive, and I understand that most of them actually have a purpose, or half of them have something in there.
It's random.
Yeah. So, if this was a video podcast, we would show this picture and we'd say, don't do this. It is this.
It'll be on the post for the podcast. I have a picture of those wires.
Yeah.
So.
I think I posted that like on either Instagram or something, that weekend. I said something like German electricals, not too complicated.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, it's all that stuff. So, which, it's not, it's not the part that gets you all excited about racing, but it is going to make those hours, it's the hours leading up to getting the track that really play a huge role in whether you're going to have a good time on the track. I think that's one of the hardest things to remind yourself of. It's that delayed gratification thing.
Yeah. So things that you've learned, how about bad ideas for low dollar and budget endurance racing? I think this is pretty important when we're kind of in the COVID area now.
Yeah.
Everybody's saving money.
Yeah. And you're right. So it is stuff like it's buy the best parts you can afford. Don't go, especially when it comes to safety. If a harness is unbelievably cheap, it might not be a genuine harness. Things like that. I've seen people show up at the track with a brand new 5-point harness, and the guys, the tech guys flip it over and they're like, this is a counterfeit, and there's no, it doesn't have any of the proper, tags on it, and these guys are screwed until they can find somebody with another harness. So don't, we're on a budget, so maybe pick and choose. I think there's a tendency to want to fix everything and make everything better at once. I think, start with it's, we like to joke about, having the race marshals come by and go, hey, are your brake lights working? We got a call from, whatever corner. And we like to say, oh, we just don't brake there. But, it's good to have good brakes, and you can go a lot faster if you can stop quickly. And so brakes was like one of the very first upgrades we did. And I don't know if anyone else out there has ever tried to do an endurance race with drum brakes. I have. It's exhausting. It's not very much fun because, right when you get to about the middle of the straightaway, you need to start braking again. And that was, you really, really learned momentum racing, but it was very hairy. Because as drum brakes are not self-adjusting, so they just get worse the longer you're out there. So the brakes, suspension, engine modifications should be the last thing you really bother with.
If ever.
Yeah. The less you tax your engine, the better. Most engines are overbuilt for their purpose. So you really, the minute you start modifying them, you start, you're cutting into that margin of error that the manufacturer and those engineers, had calculated into those engines. Now, having said that, we run, the VW has an engine that, only passingly, has any relationship to the original Type 1 40 horsepower engine, but we sort of made a philosophical decision that we are going to stay air cooled, and we'll just do what Porsche used to do and just over engineer the hell out of it. So there's easily more, braided oil line, steel braided oil line in that car, than the car is worth at this point, because we have a dry sump, we have, I think, 3 oil coolers, and a barf tank, so to speak, which is for the casement. But that that allows us to break other things in the car than the engine. So
sure. And just to go back a little bit, we've actually started bringing 1 or 2 extra harnesses to the track every race, because the number of counterfeit, not safe harnesses has been increasing. And the last thing you want to do is have a fellow team there that can't race because there's no harness. That's it's it really seemed to spike like in 2019, 2020, and you've probably seen that one in-car video of the guy in like a Mustang. And that is where it blew up,
brutal.
where the thing just blew up. Yeah, he ended up basically trying to eat the steering wheel with his chest.
It was that was actually one of the more disturbing videos I've ever seen, just because I assume that guy thought he had, accidents happen, and I assume that guy thought he had a real harness, and so that's where I'm not likely to go cheap on stuff like that. So
and they can have the hologram, the fake hologram. So it could look real, but it's not.
Was that a Thompson?
I don't think it was.
I think that was somewhere in England or something.
Oh, okay.
It was all over Facebook and Instagram.
It was just gnarly. But so keep that in mind, kiddies out there. So some of my real, like the very, very basic things that I would, maybe don't throw up drunk Friday night before you're supposed to race in an endurance race. That's
it's really hard to kick off your race with that.
We can cite several examples if you wish to know, but
hello, my name is Johan, and it happened once, and it didn't end well. It is, even crap can racing. It really takes all your wits about you, especially when there's 100 other cars on track, and and on the third lap, everybody's trying to win that one hairpin, and you've got four wide going through, and I think you don't want to be trying to decide whether you're going to throw up in your helmet.
I mean, at best you feel like junk. Middling, you have to clean out your helmet, and then it only gets worse from there.
Exactly.
So what are some bad ideas that they actually become good ideas? Philisms.
Philisms.
Have bonded quite a bit over the years, and so I certainly love old Eastern Bloc cars. I will say, surprisingly, one of the most enjoyable stints I've ever had was in a Yugo at Button Willow, with really crappy, like the original Montgomery Ward 400, wear tires on it. And the instructions I was given is if you can't hear the tires screaming, you're not going fast enough. So you need to be screaming the entire way around the track. And that's what I did. That thing was ridiculous. And it was, certainly not in the top half, but it was like sort of maybe that quarter of the fastest car there. I mean, it was a reasonable, these were reasonable times, but I had to front drift a little hatchback around a track with everybody else going like the boring way. So that you can have tremendous fun in, anything like that. And it's just weird and it's different. And so people, it draws people in, you get conversation, even, I'm sure Kathy would love a Yugo as much as Phil and Jay would. So those are great. I like the idea of, trying to shove like the biggest engine you can into the tiniest car you can. So I really want to get like an old, a Honda, one of those old, what are the 500s or 600s, and shove like a big V8 just in the middle of it and make it rear wheel drive, and just so you sort of almost have your right elbow resting over the V8, but that would be fun and terrifying. I think those are always good. Now, if you actually want to like spend the day on track, you may want to take a page out of the Idle Clatter playbook and get like a diesel Mercedes, and dress it up or do a body swap. Those are always pretty cool. But those things, they don't have great horsepower, but they have good torque, and I think they do one fuel stop per day, on a 8-hour race day. So, and they do very well in Class C, so there's strategy there.
And if it's a manual, you are going to be shifting an awful lot per lap.
Yeah.
That's a cushy Mercedes.
That's really interesting. I just while you were talking, I just took a really quick jaunt through 5 top Eastern Bloc cars, which is pretty amazing.
Does that mean I can buy one?
Cannot. Parts are a whole other issue. So, what about your overall tips and advice? Example, turbos in a race car.
Always a great idea.
Yeah. If your name isn't Eyesore Racing, don't do it. I think unless you, honestly, I wouldn't, even if, gosh, what is his name? There's a guy that works for one of the big turbo companies, and he's like, no, I won't turbo our Lemons car. So I think that kind of says it all. I mean, if it didn't come as a turbo, maybe don't.
Even if it did, it might be an idea not to.
Yes, especially Audi. Oh, did I say that out loud? What?
Yeah. And never take a turbo car and make it bigger turbo. That's bad.
No. Yeah. Because that whole thing I said about engineers having built in a lot of, leeway, does not apply to the turboed car. That they've already took away whatever wiggle room you had. So, they're magnificent while they're out there, but that's the key. It's while they're out there. I think honestly, a great first car for if you were, you barely know what you're doing, get a 2000 Toyota Camry. And just go out there and make laps, learn how to build a cage, learn how to make laps, learn the line. That thing will just cruise around. It'll handle better than a normal Camry will, because you'll have taken out the sofa and kind of all the upholstery and stuff. So it'll be a little lighter. It'll be a little daintier, but it'll go, and then when you get, if you kind of get more confident and comfortable with things, then you can buy something maybe a little more aggro.
Like a Cressida?
Well, only if you then backdate it to look like some JDM Crown or something like that, Oh, okay. That would be then absolutely.
Okay.
I like that.
Paint it like a Wheaties bottle, Wheaties box.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What about at the track? You can shave a lot of time just by preparing and being ready for, and maybe even practicing your pit maneuvers, because I don't know any cars that can make it through a 24-hour race and not get gas at least once.
Yeah. So we're not doing 8-second pit stops like an F1, but the really good teams are they get a pit stop done in under 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends a little bit on kind of their fuel setup and whatnot. If they're just throwing 5 gallons in, but I think you really should be aiming for definitely under 5 and probably under 4 if you want to kind of if you want to have the best advantage or not have a disadvantage, I guess is maybe the best way to put it. Because at most tracks, what are lap times? They're between 1:50 and maybe a little over 2 minutes, right? For a lot of the tracks that we're at. So if you can do a 4-minute fuel stop, or a little better than that, then you're not losing more than 2 laps, and and the pressure's on whoever you're chasing or whoever's chasing you to do at least that, and it really just comes down to little things like, does everybody know what they're supposed to do? So and and is everybody dressed and ready when the car comes in? And does the driver know when they pull in, when they're rolling into their spot, as they start unhooking stuff, and turn, and by golly, turn the damn car off. Like really simple stuff that we tend to you get all excited and you're trying to rush and you don't think, and then that slows everything down.
Don't take off your gloves. Don't raise your
Right.
visor.
There was something that I also learned too, is that this is endurance racing. So it's not race as hard and as fast as you possibly can, in a sense, because you also at the same time have to take care of this car. And if you feel the car is not performing the way it should, don't push it, bring it in, because you might be jeopardizing your car for the next stint. So you really have to feel the car.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to learn to listen to the car, and then and over time, what you hope you learn too is as a team, well, okay, what can we nurse and what do we have to address immediately?
Yes.
What is such a bad noise or or such a problem that the next thing that's going to happen is going to be worse than what's happening now, as opposed to if maybe you've just got maybe a foul plug or something, and then okay, I'm down a little power, it's it doesn't feel great, I'm mad because I'm not getting all the HPs out of my car, but sometimes the most heroic performances in endurance racing are nursing a car through the stint, not letting it get hurt, and and then letting your at the next when you're done for your pit stop, you come in and clean up and get back, let the next driver get out there, and instead of pulling in the middle of your stint and all that. But I think that maybe I'm getting ahead of things, because if you're a beginner, probably if you hear something and you don't absolutely know what it is, come in. So erase what I just said. Don't listen to me. And now listen to me.
Wait to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here I am. I'm here to help.
So we talked about the loose nuts in the suspension, and basically going through that. There's this other loose nut that you could probably focus on long before you start spending money on the car.
That meat sack.
The
The meat sack, yeah.
Yeah. I think it is super helpful to. I mean, it can be little stuff like watch videos of the track that you're going to race at. Learn the track, before you get there. If you have it available to you and you have the budget, go to a driving school or go to some HPDE or whatever, high performance driving ed days, even if it's in your street car and with an instructor, and kind of learn, what does turn in mean? Where, why, what is apexing? What is, what makes a turn a late, entry versus, kind of a normal entry, and those sorts of things. And, unlike maybe on my commute, I don't want to just gently put my foot on the brake and spend, and have it heat up for 1,000 feet. I want to get into that brake really quickly, but without upsetting the car. And so that I spend as much time as possible going, my top speed and not some incremental decrease of speed and all those sorts of things, and just sort of get comfortable with the idea of going, not 10/10, but 8/10, and in endurance racing, that's really, 8/10 is really what you're looking for.
So Johan, once the driver's addressed, if you were going to try to improve your car, what would you focus on?
Yes. So make it suckless. So make it brake better. Make it stay to the road a bit better. Right? So sometimes the best suspension change you can do is change the wheels and tires. Get a little more, just get a little more rubber on the ground. It's a little grippier, and so you kind of have to learn what lug pattern you have and what you can find in that. One of the nice things with the Super Beetle, and I will say, what you need to know about the Super Beetle as a choice is we're the only ones in any, I think we're the only ones racing a Super Beetle, period. So keep that in mind when I talk about
there's a reason, sir.
Yeah. Now, here's what's good about them. I mean, they're light. So, off the showroom floor, I think a 73 Super Beetle was still under, it was like right at 1,900 pounds. And I think ours is probably down to, 1,700 pounds or something like that. And that's maybe a little more when it's fully loaded with 4 gallons of motor oil, but and I did say gallons, but what's great is most cars have like flashier cousins, right? Where you can swap on parts from the sporty cousin onto it. And for the Super Beetle, that's actually the Porsche 944. So, the McPherson struts, the rear trailing arms, all of the, the hubs and brakes with modest fabrication or modification will just about plug into, some are straight plugins and some are plugins with minor modification, like a different bracket or something like that you can have pretty easily. So you can easily improve the braking, the handling, and those things. And then you're just left with the powertrain, which is, 1930s technology at best. And so the only thing you do is increase the displacement and increase the compression ratio, which is dangerous, and is why we run so much oil. So, because that's the only thing keeping, really, air-cooled engines are not air-cooled, they're oil-cooled, more appropriately. So, we run 4 gallons of oil through there just to make sure it stays under 220 degrees, because that's where bad things happen. And it's not a great endurance car. I'm going to come out and say that. It's a really good rallycross and autocross car.
Would be awesome in the snow.
It is very fun. Yeah, in the snow. It's a great rally car, honestly. They've got a great history in the 70s, in big boy rallying, even with, kind of 1.6 to 1.8 liters. And, but that's because they had to go for, 6 minutes at a time, all out.
Right.
So, it's a lot of fun. It handles, it's a very input active car, input needy car. You've been driving when you get out of it, but I probably wouldn't talk a lot of other people into enduro racing yet. So yeah, the Corolla, on the other hand, everybody needs a Corolla. And be clear, it's a rear wheel drive Corolla. So
the older ones,
yep.
Yes. So would there be any critical spares or things that you'd want to check more closely for that type of car?
It's going to be the bushings and bearings, things like that. Axle stubs, that sort of stuff. And maybe bring a spare engine. If you are foolish enough and stubborn enough to enduro race it, and get good at swapping them.
That's the big key right there.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, we're not world record holders, but we've done it in just over an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but
I don't think we fixed anything in under an hour.
Sadly, that's because of practice. So,
well, there is that. Well, Johan, we thank you for coming on, and we've got a second guest coming on for our Fast and Furious Storytime questions, and I believe he's coming online now. But Johan, thank you. We do appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
It's awesome. All right, super. And it's not normal for us to have 2 different guests on one podcast, but we had another request, and some of our listeners said, "Hey, could you have the GDO man on?" And we said, "Of course we can." So with that, we have the GDO man.
Hello, is this thing on?
It is.
Hello. Oh.
It is GDO man. GDO man, thank you for coming on. I mean, we had a few people call and say, "Could you come on after your exemplary guest drop in at the Everyone Racers podcast a while back?" So we've been looking forward to this.
Those boys and girls, they're very nice. It was warm in there, so it was very nice. It was very cold that night, and so I can say that for them. They had a warm place for me that night. Yeah,
that's excellent. So I don't know if the Yo Man is a podcast subscriber, but Vicky, would you care to introduce him to the Fast and Furious Storytime questions?
So we do the Fast and Furious Storytime questions. They're pretty much rapid fire, and get to know you better, and
oh boy,
yes, this ought to be very well. Jennifer, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, I'd love to. So our very first question is, what was your very first car?
Oh boy. So like it's complicated, but first car when driving in high school was Mercury XR40i. It was
X-Roddy.
such a bitchin' car. It was like Euro Ford, and it was very cool in my Adidas tracksuit. It was very nice.
What was your worst car you ever had?
Well, if anybody has had the Mercury XR40i for a longer period of time, they will know it's also the worst car you could have. They don't last. It's not made with Japanese quality. It's like maybe, I don't know, what is the poorest German speaking country? Probably that one. That's what it's insensitive of me, I know. But
So Mr. Yo Man.
Yo man.
yes,
Or is it Dr. Yo Man? I can't remember.
it depends on who is asking. Do you have words?
When you started getting into cars, back when you were just a young yo, like you were probably a yo boy at the time. So there had to be something that influenced you to get into cars. It was like the Taproot car, the one that started this all. It could have been a Hot Wheels car, it could have been a Hot Neighbors car, it could have been whatever. Is there a Taproot for the yo man? Well,
No.
depends where you live, yo man.
Well, I grew up in Sweden, so yes, I have many hot neighbors. So I am still partial to the Volvo 142. It's a very nice box. But you can cram just about anything in there. I think Judge Field put a V8 in one once. So, it's a proper Northern European hooning mobile. As any boy from the 80s would attest, the Lamborghini Countach. That's.
So was that the poster that was on the yo man's wall?
Yeah, it's on one wall. Yes, for a while.
We won't ask about the other walls.
No, don't tell my mother. Those are good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still talking. I don't know why.
What is the one thing that no one knows
okay.
about you that would surprise them?
That I'm gainfully employed. But people don't know that I'm a Swede. I'm just a simple Swedish boy from the north of the place, the woods and all that. Yeah.
How did you get the accent? Is this the Swedish accent? It's not one that I'm familiar with.
It sort of waffles back and forth. It can be sometimes. I like to, my favorite hero is if you ever watch a Metalocalypse.
Yes.
Yes, a squeeze guard is like a god, and him's god and of the guitar, and so I am the god of the paddock. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is the car from your family that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, so let's see. Well, actually my favorite cars growing up were my uncle's cars back in Sweden. He had like Alfa Romeo GTV, and he had like 3 or 4 different Alfa Romeos, and they were. I knew then, like, oh crap, that is what a car is supposed to look like, and it was they were very sexy, especially in northern Sweden where everything else was like a box, but but reliable. You maybe named Helga, and then this car was like Rafaela, and I'm like, oh. Who are you? You've never been in our village before. So, yeah. So that was exciting. So, that was probably my most exciting car. in my
Uh,
childhood.
Scar. What about automatic or stick or don't care?
Stick if I am driving, automatic if I am in the back seats.
Okay. So, what is your favorite race car driver?
Oh, this is it. So, if you're Swedish, you're torn between the real Stig, because the Stig is for sure he's Swedish. Is the 1982 World Rally Champion winner, the World Rally Championship. He beat Walter Roll, the big German, in the Audi. So he was the first one to really tame that. And before that, he drove little Saabs, like 2-stroke Saabs, and he would still win the Swedish rally. So, we come from a little country. We're very proud. It's like we claim it's from jets, but I don't think they make 2-stroke jets. No, I don't think they do. But
not well.
It was, we were very proud of him. And then there was Ronnie Pedersen. He was the last Formula One driver that could still drift the F1 cars. And maybe ironically or not, he died. But he was. But there is an interesting sort of pathetic story coming out of this. So so this was 1979, and he and Mario Andretti were teammates for Lotus, and they were 1-2 all the way through all that whole year. And so he died with 2 races to go. He still finished second in the standings to Mario. And then 4 years ago, I meet Mario. I'm so excited to meet Mario. And the only thing I tells him is, oh, Mario, I am Swedish. I remember when you was with Ronnie Peterson. Then he died. I was so sad. Silence.
So
yeah, I felt a little bad for putting poor Mario in an awkward position. He was very nice about it. He looked at his shoes. He was very good at looking at his shoes.
Sure, that's not the only person you've put in an awkward position, Mr. Yeoman.
What about front wheel, rear wheel, 4-wheel, or it doesn't matter? Depends on if he's in the back seat.
Yeah, it depends if I'm in back seat or on roof. No. Or holding on to hood, like what was it? TJ Hooker. They all have their place. I think they all has a good place, but I probably like rear wheel drive the best for the smoky burnouts.
Yes.
You're up, Jen.
Keep burnouts.
I'll tag in for you, Jen. How about that? Mr. Yeoman, was there a car that's got away? The one that you look back and say, "Oh, I wish I had my."
You mean like when I forgot to put the parking brake down?
That's one way to go.
It was good. That time was one time a car got away, but that's right around 10 years ago, I had a chance to buy a 996, the Porsche, the GT2, or like what a new Acura would cost. And I was like, but it doesn't have AC, and I live in Arizona. And now I pretty much think I was an ass. But that is probably the single greatest car that which just was like, oh, hello, pretty boy. Oh, gee, I've got nowhere to go. I don't, and I'm so thirsty. And I was like, well, okay, I have to. I'm going to go watch rugby now, like that, and that was it. Just an idiot. So I kicked myself.
Kick myself.
I understand.
So, what is the fastest you've ever driven a car? What car, where, and when?
What? So I've somewhere in the 150 miles an hour range, and in two very different times in my life. So I remember I told you about the Merkur XR4Ti that I had in high school. Turns out it can do that on the way home from school. That was maybe not my wisest choice thing to do on US 23, but I didn't die and no one was hurt, and so I just chalk it up to luck. Thank Odin. And then at the Bonneville Salt Flats, I got the chance to do it without going to jails. So I think I did 151 miles an hour in a Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. And I think for at least for a little while, I was like the fourth or fifth fastest person to ever go any speeds in the Carmen Ghia. So take that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So GD, you don't mind if I call you GD, right?
No, of course not. Everybody.
Okay, I just first initial basis,
Okay.
So we're eventually going to figure out how to play this lottery thing, and we're going to win, and we're going to get a desert island that has a track. And on this track, we want all our podcast guests to come over, but we want to make sure that they have the cars that they want there. So what 5 cars would you request to be on our track?
So definitely, because I'm a child of the 80s, and the 80s are so rad, I want the 959. That's so super cool. Maybe the newest GT3, because I'm a Porsche snob, if you cannot tell.
Did you say Saab?
No,
Porsche,
no,
Porsche.
no subs. Porsche
Okay.
Snoob. Actually, I want my Beetle, because my Beetle is the crazy car.
So 3 Porsches so far.
Yes. What? Don't sound very Swedish now. Let me see. I think a Caterham would be pretty damn fun.
Oh yeah.
Those. Yeah. And then something more gangster. I don't know.
You do have a reputation to keep up. So
yeah, probably like a G-Wagon. No, actually, that would be crap on the track. I don't know. No, I want like a Volvo R-Wagon there, because I'm a Swede and they're beach.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
What would your dream car be to start a build from for racing?
Well, let me. Well, no, I'm gonna stick with. I would get a Volvo, 240.
Did you say Wawa?
Volvo.
Whoa.
240 station wagon, because everybody knows better aerodynamics, and we start from there and probably shove like Ferrari engine or something in it. I think that would be nice. Maybe like one of those leftover like 90s 12-cylinder F1 engins.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
Yeah. It shouldn't be. What could possibly be wrong?
Nothing. With your skill, nothing.
So
with your skill and someone else's know-how.
I hear you're the ultimate sous chef in the garage, so you got this.
I could pass all the best nuts over.
Okay.
You need me to torque that for you?
Feeling pretty torqued right now. Thanks. I'm good.
Okay. So if you could only drive and race cars from one decade in the past, which one would you choose? Which decade?
Yeah, I think I've already probably kind of declared. I think the 80s. I think the F1 cars was like the best, and the World Rally Championship. That's really like the whole when they had like people would just stand in the road, and the car would just be coming like 8,000 miles an hour down this crappy ass road. And the people would just barely get out of the way, and the drivers would be like, well, I sure hope they're going to get out of my way because I'm going here. Those were the best, like maybe the Fiesta or the, or that first Quattro or, yeah, lots of that.
Okay. Well, when we came up with this question, I was thinking of somebody as strong and tough as you to be able to ask this question, because the girls just won't do it. So the question is, Jeremy, Hammond, May, Chris, Matt, other?
I have a sentimental favorite because I completely by accident, I ended up staying at her house. Sabina Smith's.
Ooh,
Sabine.
Sabina Smith is just like super nice, and I mean, she got a damn panel van to go around the Nürburgring in under 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That I can get behind. That's pretty lemon.
Yeah, that is lemony. We have an open invitation to her for lemons. I think she should come over.
I did. It was great because I was wearing the what is it? The Rennschlepp Krappenwagen T-shirt, and she looks at it and she's like, "Was ist das? Rennschlepp? What?" And I'm like, "What? That's not perfect German." It seems like you, if anybody, would know exactly what he says. She claims to have actually brought it up to her producers when she was briefly when she was hosting Top Gear. Clearly, they didn't take it very far. But I don't blame her.
No.
So,
being a man about the world.
Yeah. Where would your ultimate road trip be from and to, and in what car?
I think it depends. The car depends on where. The where depends on the car. So where am I going with this? This is very confusing. Pretty much anywhere in like an old speedster. That's kind of winning. I think that's, I think if you're on a road trip, if you're not trying to do Cannonball Run or Goulash Run or whatever, then what you just want to be classy and cool. And I would clearly pick someplace warm and nice. Maybe, like, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe like.
Well, I mean, you're Swedish, so every place is warm.
Well, yeah. So probably, well, not New Jersey. I'm not going to New Jersey. I don't care what you say or how much you pay me. I'm not going back to New Jersey. But
Sorry, Jeff. He's not coming to visit.
Yeah, driving up the California coast, but I've already done that, so that's not such a big. I shouldn't say it. It shouldn't be something already done, right?
No.
That's kind of bullshit. Okay. Oh, can you say this on your special show? Oh,
GDO Man does what GDO Man does.
Oh man,
this is
always
GDO exclusive.
Yeah, I like, actually, I think it would be, this is completely the opposite, is I would love to take a a Volga or a Gaz from like Novosibirsk to Stockholm, and just see what the hell happens.
Wow, we've never had that one before.
Yeah,
How about that?
It would be adventure. It would be all about adventure.
So, what is your favorite car movie or car from a movie of all time?
Oh man. Oh no, that's easy because we just watched it last night. It's a documentary about Western Australia or something. It's Maxwell, Angry Maxwell, something like
Angry, yeah.
the
Mad guy. Mad
last
guy.
of the V8 Interceptors. That is still greatest movie car ever.
We have not had Mad Max before.
It's that is one badass car. And it's Ford, so it's like a family connection, very close to.
Yeah.
What car would you love to switch into that you are currently racing or raced against in the past, and on what track?
Ooh, well, so like probably everybody would like a turn in the Tata's car because we'd like to know what it's like to go that fast.
Yep.
That's one good one. Always like on the West Coast, pretty much anything that this guy Spank is driving, because it's always something weird. So it's kind of like, it's like guess my underwear. I don't know, it could be anything. You don't know what's going to be there. So those are fun. There aren't too many. I don't have lots of car jealousy. I mean, of course, I would have said your car until, never mind. We don't speak of it.
Until it blew up.
It's until it goes left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what car, if any, would you want to wipe away from history? Did we just do that one? Sorry.
No.
Nope, not yet.
We did have a long discussion about Yugos and Eastern Bloc cars, though.
I remember Yugos.
I remember Yugos.
Only bit from stories from my parents, but probably a large proportion of the Roots group cars. They were
the what group?
They were. So there was like Singer, and there was I don't remember. There was many terrible cars. But my mother tells a great story about a summer vacation. They bought a Singer. No, not that Singer. This was much less
like the sewing machine.
Yeah, closer. Yes. And so their summer vacation turned into a tour of like wrecking yards in the mid-60s. So my mother, they got back, he drove it right up to the dealership and left it there. Did not take money back, nothing. He said, no, just take it. That was it. It was that bad.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So Roots cars not so good.
Yeah. So what is your favorite track so far?
Ooh, favorite track. Sebring is pretty cool. I'm glad we're going back. Man, if you want to be classy, there's nothing more classy than Barber.
Barber,
even the bathrooms were like they smell nice. You could sleep in the bathrooms. You probably would do better to sleep in the bathrooms because they are warm and clean. And the hand soap there smells like almonds. It's amazing. So it's you feel you want to be a better person when you are there.
Okay.
Everywhere else is like we are all feral dogs. They're sniffing each other's asses and peeing on things. Disgusting. dragging our butts everywhere. But when you get to Barber, ooh, yeah, you clean it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's also a nice track to drive on, by the way.
So, in your opinion, how much of racing is learned versus how much is natural skill?
Well, if it's mostly natural skills, I'm in trouble. I think if you're not how do you say complete spaz, you can learn very, 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 very much. I think being talented just means you learn it faster. So there, look, I can talk serious. Sort of, almost for a moment.
Multi-talented. Who knew? Yeah. All right, so this is a 3-parter. So if I could give you a gift and you could see this movie for the first time ever again, what movie would you want to see for the first time ever?
It's easy, actually. So you tossed me softballs.
I'm sorry.
Steve McQueen, Le Mans. That is just like a weird, mind-blowing trip, and he's like so gritty, very gritty, very real. And there's not a lot of complicated dialogue, but there's plenty of cars.
Yeah, plenty. All right. So what if I could make it so you could hear a song for the first time? What song would it be?
Ooh, let's see. It's probably not necessarily correlated.
No, we're trying to get to know the GDO man, you know.
It's probably something cool like Echoes by the Pink Floyds.
GDO man is a Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. Get out your headphones.
Very nice. Cool. All right. I didn't expect that answer, but that's amazing. So so finally, if you could drive a track for the first time, what track would it be?
Monte Carlo F1. Yeah, that would be cool. Hopefully, I'd get more than one lap because I would be shit at the first lap. I'm pretty sure. And then, so I'd like a chance to maybe get good first, but that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we need to get Lemons to go over there for us. I think we'd fit right in.
That Jay, he's such a tatwad. I mean, I get him to do that. He's just like, yeah, we like street racing. It's like a Mr. No Fun.
I don't know.
Tell you, that guy used to be cool.
Wow. Who knew?
I turned on him just like that. Yeah. But next time I see him, I will be so nice. If you're out there, Mr. J, I was just kidding. Still buddies.
I see penalty laps in your future, GDO man.
Oy.
Too funny.
Goodness.
All right. So, how do we keep in contact or follow you or your team or?
Everybody is welcome to try to join the GD Yeoman group, which
it's excellent. It's excellent.
Started for no particular reason. I've been a little lazy lately, but I will get you on if you hey man, sign up and maybe I'll post something, okay?
It's more the quality than the quantity with that group, so it's highly recommended.
So there's not even that. I like to start them out with low expectations, so
true.
I can keep meeting them.
Well, coming on this podcast has nothing to do but help you with that. So you're doing fine, sir.
No. It is, from coming from the countryside. This is big times for me. Big times.
Well, who knew? Well, Mr. Yeoman, it was everything that we had hoped it would be having you on, and we'd love to have you on again at some point when we stop laughing.
Well, very good. Yeah. Well, just think of the winter. That's all. It's
Okay.
I would be most honorable to be re-guested. Thank you.
No worries. No worries. Thank you, Mr. Yeoman.
Thank you. Didn't I say thank you? Well, thank you again.
No, thank you.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, thank you, Johan. That was awesome.
Funny.
Thanks for having me on.
Lord.
That was fun. You
It was so much more fun that they didn't know what was coming. That was the best part.
Didn't have any idea.
A little bit, gotten a little confusing. There was that look of like, well, he's still there. What?
What's going
What do you mean? Where's the second guest? Who are they talking about? Why is he starting to clear his throat a lot?
I just roll with it.
You just roll.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we're going.
Really?
Yep.
Uncomfortable, I gotta say. So.
That's exactly where we were going.
Very funny.
Dominating with Dawson.
Hello, I'd like to talk to the lead instructor from Dominating with Dawson, please.
Hello?
Hey, Ben
That's me.
Dawson. Ben Dawson.
Hi.
Who knew you'd be here?
So strange to find me just kind of lurking around this parking lot.
That's right. I thought with all this COVID stuff, you'd be out there partying with all the big boys like normal.
Yeah, it's so funny that you found me in the middle of my nightly out in public with no mask nightmare. It's so weird.
Yep. Well, very
I'm
well.
just laughing to not cry, guys.
That's right. Pretty soon they'll let you out of your house, Ben. Pretty soon.
I don't care. I don't
Hopefully
care.
so.
It's fine.
Hopefully
It's fine.
someday.
Whatever I got to do to keep it safe, I do not care.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's not going to help us from a Dominating with Dawson perspective. But Ben, I have been accused of losing my marbles many, many, many times. However, I believe that when people refer to marbles at the track, they are talking not about my lack of craziness, but perhaps they're talking about something else. What's a marble?
When they talk about marbles, they're talking about the rolled up bits of rubber and aggregated dirt that kind of happen when you have a bunch of hot tires that are shedding little balls of rubber as they get hot and, encounter extra forces that they're not used to encountering on the street. They just roll off pieces of rubber. It also just kind of gets tied up with little rocks around the edge of the track and dirt and just gets really slick. So they call it marbles because it feels like you're just, instead of you come up out of the groove where there's a lot of grip on the track, maybe 2 grooves wide, something like that. But when you get out to the extra wide part, that's what they call the marbles because it gets really slick and it feels like you're trying to walk in a room full of marbles.
Yep. And in case anybody hasn't been to a track, it sounds like there can't be any of this, but it's literally like a field of these things.
Yeah, and they're not ball shaped. They're just like they're pieces of tire that come off. Especially they come off the softer tires that other groups might be running. If you're at an HPD event and it's your first or second one, you might still be on the street tires that came from the dealership with your car. And it's unlikely that you're putting a bunch of balls of rubber out on the track, but the guys that are out there, they're really slick, gummy tires. Those are the guys that when they put a lot of cornering load down in a certain corner, a lot of the rolled up rubber will collect out at the outside of the track.
But even if you're not putting them out there, you're still able to pick them up.
Oh, definitely. Once you get out there and your tires get hot, it's likely that you'll get out in it and it's a slick area you want to stay out of because you're going to lose grip, and it's likely this stuff will stick to your own tires because they're going to be hot enough to collect it. Yeah.
Yep. So the marbles are a result of tires being worn down, and they typically, in most cases, are going to be offline.
Yep. For the most part, if there's a bunch of marbles online, it's because somebody swept them from offline to online, and then there's going to be hopefully there will be a debris flag. The red and yellow stripe flag should be displayed at those corners, hopefully, to let you know that there's Yeah. So yeah, and for the most part, usually I see those debris flags, and I'm like, I'm gonna maybe back off like a few percent and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's not like there's a 1 through 10 scale on the debris. The debris could literally be like a little, spark plug, or it could be
especially
car.
if you. And a lot of times, so, yeah, just to zero in for 1 second on the debris flag, if you see the debris flag, use some context cues. If you see some debris flag and you also see cars spinning off the track, take it pretty seriously. If you see a debris flag and a puff of dust off the outside of one corner,
yeah,
you might think about, I'm just going to kind of back it off a little bit. But you do kind of, if you see a debris flag, back off just a little bit so you can at least be in control when you go through there instead of at the bleeding ragged edge.
Yeah, or if the girl or gentleman waving the flag is like very animated, you may want to take a little extra.
Yeah, one of the best skills that you can pick up in green belt level racecraft is starting to read the flaggers, and if they look relaxed and they're just hanging a yellow flag out with not moving it, it's probably likely that you don't need to panic. But if they're out there standing outside of their little gazebo, waving 2 of them at you, it's a good time to come off the throttle and start braking, gently right then, just to get your bearings and see what's going on, and be really slow by the time you get to them. That's just some advice on reading flagger body language too. They are very demonstrative of what they want you to do with their flags and with their motions in their bodies.
Yes, and if they look like they're on fire, pay very special attention to what they're trying to tell you, because it's usually big.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Always watch your flag stations with extra importance more than anything else.
Oh, did I ever tell you my HPD 3 teacher, Robin? He's got a way of memorizing flag stations.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Okay, so first lap, the out lap of the track. Where you go to the track, you're on your first out lap. You go around and you point to every single flag station, and then
I make every student do this.
And then you go pew, and you have to make the noise.
I don't have that yet. I'm gonna add that.
Yep. And then you go for your second lap, and amazingly enough, you know exactly where every flag station is, because you've got the visual, you've got the mechanical above your hand, and you've got the auditory.
Yeah, you get a verbal cue too that you get yourself. Pew, pew, pew. That's great. I mean, that's kind of the way we memorize, music and songs or something like that. Just sort of add something to it. That's really cool. That's a great way to do it. I love that. I'm going to definitely add that to my instructing routine if I get back to doing that.
Yep. So
I'm trying to get somebody else on my team to be the person who instructs and gets us free testing time, then I can just not do it.
Well, I'm working on it, but I'm not quite there.
There you
yet.
go. There you go. Let's get to it.
All right. So we started with marbles again, and surprisingly enough, we're on to Star Wars noises pointing at flag stations. But
that's right. Ben Dawson, the topic stealer.
That's right. So marbles, we know what they are. What do you do if you get into them?
Just like if you get into something slick like grease or something else that will mess up your flow, you just have to back out of it. Try to apply a correction and wait for the correction, like we've talked about in another segment. We do CPR, we do a correction, we pause and recover. So you get into it, you realize, oh, I'm in this area, my grip is compromised. Yep. The first thing to do is not panic, and then just throw a correction at it, see what happens. Back out of the throttle. If I was out there and I realized I was losing some grip like that, I probably wouldn't just dive on the brakes. I would just sort of ease out of it, see what happens, and see how much of a correction I needed to make, and add more correction as I go if it was necessary. Hopefully if you get into get out into the marbles, and if it's a corner exit or something like that, that's pretty fraught. But if you're just sort of if you're not in a loaded corner getting in the marbles, it may not be a big panic situation. But if you're in a high grip situation, you suddenly had a bunch of grip and you needed it to keep you off the wall, and you suddenly lost it, then you're gonna have to really be in the mindset of doing a bunch of big corrections, right? Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna just prepare to have less grip than what you thought going in, I think is the big thing.
It's gonna be like running through a wet spot. You're just gonna you had X amount of grip, and you're gonna have minus
less than X.
Less than that.
Yes. The other thing that I didn't realize, and I'd like to bring to attention, is if you run through marbles, you can pick up marbles, and then you can almost feel like you've got a flat spot, or you've got something wrong with your car, or it's making a noise right after it. And that's usually, if it wasn't there before and it's there right after you go through marbles, it's not your car. You've just got stuff stuck to your tire.
Yeah, it's like you can pick up some dirt that takes a few corners or a lap to clear off. It's old. Yeah, the Formula One guy, the commentator David Hobbs used to call it clag. You run through the clag and get a bunch of clag stuck to your tire, and it takes a while to come off. Just this last week, I was driving, and I'm just driving down like a 55 mile an hour highway, and all of a sudden my car just starts going like boom, 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 boom. It was pulling severely to the left. I'm like, what is going on? So I pull over. I mean, I'm thinking like I've got a flat tire and I'm gonna really mess up a rim if I keep riding on it. So I'm like, let me pull over and stop. So I pull over, get out, walking around. All my tires look fine. I don't see anything hanging down. There's no obvious damage. I'm like, since there's air in all the tires, I'm gonna at least kind of keep driving to see if I can get to somewhere that can take a look at it. And like literally a quarter mile later, I get driving and whatever was on my tire cleared itself. And I was just like, bloop, back to normal. But I was panicking. I was like, I am going to miss daycare pickup. I'm about to call my wife like, hey, you got to go. You have to go pick the kid up because my car is jacked up. I was in that mode. Like I was like, oh crap, I got to find a wrecker. Yeah, I got to find a wrecker. COVID, man, this thing is finally going to have to go in for a real suspension overhaul. Here we go. And then 2 seconds later, I'm driving. It's like, boom, 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 boom. It's gone. And I just rolled down the road. It was so, yeah, be ready for whatever kind of stuff might come along as far as changing your grip, or if you run through something weird on track, expect for it to hang with you for a minute, right?
Yep. And it could be, nothing but noise, or it could be like pretty severe and just it should clear.
Well, and also remember that we're talking about flaggers and flag stations, and they're watching you and they're watching your car. So if you've gone through something weird and you're unsure of how severe it is, if there's an outward signal that the flaggers can see, like smoke or fluid, they're going to let you know and they're going to bring you in. So you can do what you can do inside the car as far as discerning how bad it is or where the damage is. But if it's bad enough to be outwardly visible, they're going to let you know and bring you in. So hopefully they're going to do it in a time that will help save you money on maybe not rebuilding an engine or not catching a car on fire, right?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, every time we've been on fire, they told us to come in. So we agree.
Oh, man. That's cursed. Don't put that evil on me, Bill.
Sorry. Had to. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Hey, the other two people coming on don't know about the GDO man, so we're going to kind of keep it as a surprise for them. I told him we had a guest, and then we had somebody else doing the ending.
Okay.
So
We can do that.
nothing more fun than having a good time at the expense of my wife. So.
Hi, Jonah. How are you?
Johan.
You got all the
I'm
right
sorry.
letters, so it's fine.
I do. Johan.
Well, John is way more
Exactly.
likely.
All right, let's-
So yeah, there aren't a lot of Johan. So it's people aren't in the habit.
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to do the normal intro part. Then Johan's got some stuff on racing, lessons learned, things. It's not all about winning, people.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Me?
Is this thing on? Hello.
Oh no,
just
it's not all.
just messing with you.
You know me. It's not all.
I'm not talking to the three of us.
Oh,
If it was the only thing, we would have lost this interest long ago.
Why would any of us still be racing if that was the only thing?
Exactly. And then we'll end with the Fast and Furious stuff, which I will introduce. So that'll be fun. Johan, anything that you're anything you need? You're good?
promoting? Are you planning on promoting anything?
No, just bad ideas.
Awesome. It's perfect podcast guest for our podcast. That's what we need.
I love that.
All right. Miss Jen, you good?
I'm good.
You're still listed as Calvi now.
I know. I can't show.
Okay. All right, very well. Miss Vicky,
Yes,
you're good?
I'm good.
All right. Let's make sure we're recording. We did that once. That sucked. All righty. All right. Off to the races. Welcome to the pod.
Let's try that again.
Not off to the races. I can't even pronounce it. Can you tell I've been podcasting for 3 hours already today? Woo.
Welcome to the Podcasting Heroes.
That's right. Welcome to the worst podcast in endurance racing ever. Did anybody see the Lemons wrap up today? Came out.
Oh, for the national champs. I have not seen it yet.
It's pretty funny.
Oh.
I had a good time. So good time had by all. So, which usually is code for it's at the expense of some of our friends. So I had a great time. It was awesome. All righty. You're going to try this again, people? You're going to get this right this time? I'm not going to carry you anymore.
Sure.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay.